intracranial hemorrhages. It is a form of stroke, and the patient most commonly presents to us with headache and LOC, loss of consciousness. CT can diagnose all your intracranial hemorrhages. CT is highly sensitive and specific. According to the site of bleed, it is classified into epidural or extradural, subdural hematoma, subarachnoid hemorrhage, or intracellular hemorrhage. This is the calvarium, dura mater, arachnoid, and pia mater. If the bleed occurs between your dura and your calvarium, it is called as extradural hematoma or epidural hematoma. If the bleed occurs between dura mater and arachnoid, it is called as subdural. If the bleed occurs between arachnoid and pia mater, it is called as subarachnoid hemorrhage. If the bleed occurs within the brain parenchyma, it is called as intracerebral hemorrhage. This epidural hematoma is always from a arterial source, so blood will be leaking under high pressure, so it will compress your brain. EDH, you can see that the dura mater is being compressed downwards or inwards, therefore this will be biconvex. Tamil ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கணும்னாக்க E for idli shape example, you can see this biconvex. This is EDH. Next one is SDH, where the bleed occurs between dura and arachnoid. Here the bleed is from venous source, hence it will not compress your brain to that extent as seen with extradural or epidural hematoma. Here it will be following the convexity of the brain. You can see here it just follows the convexity of the brain, SDH. Lastly, you can have the intracerebral hemorrhages. This accounts for 10% of the stroke. The common etiology are hypertension, cerebral amyloidosis, cerebral amyloid angiopathy, AV malformations, anticoagulations used for cardiac problem like atrial fibrillation can predispose to ICH, and sympathomimetic drugs like oxymetazoline, xylometazoline, which are used as topical decongestants, are powerful vasoconstrictors which can increase the BP. These are the common causes for intracerebral hemorrhages. Hypertensive bleed, these are most common in putamen, thalamus, cerebellum, and pons. The reason why these sites are mentioned are, if there is a bleed in unusual location, that is apart from these 4 locations, think of some other etiology as the predisposing factor. So bleed in the putamen, thalamus, cerebellum, and pons can be attributed to hypertension. Suppose if the bleed is in an unusual location, suspect other causes like neoplasms, AV malformations, hemorrhagic disorders, and drugs and vasculitis. Complication, apart from the complications of stroke like bed sores, UTI, aspiration pneumonitis, brain can undergo herniation and compress the vital structures. Herniation can occur and the blood can extend into the ventricle, which is called as intraventricular extension, which indicates a poor prognosis. You can see the bleed here, which is extended into the ventricle. This is called as intraventricular extension, which carries a poor prognosis. Putamen hemorrhage, patient will be having contralateral hemiplegia due to the compression of the internal capsule which is nearby the putamen. And thalamic hemorrhage, patient will have contralateral hemiplegia along with sensory disturbances, like patient will have lost all forms of sensation in the opposite side of the body, and the eyes looks at the tip of the nose. Though the patient presents with loss of sensory modalities, later the patient can develop burning sensation in that particular side of the body, which is called as Dejerine-Roussy syndrome, a complication of thalamic hemorrhage. And Pontine hemorrhage, remember it as 3 P's, that is paralysis, pinpoint pupil, and pyrexia. Patient can also have hypopnea, hyperhidrosis, that is increased sweating, and hypertension, which will be very severe. And cerebral hemorrhages can present as occipital headache, ataxic gait, vomiting, vertigo. This is the ICH score. The variables are age, hematoma volume, intraventricular extension, infratentorial origin, and GCS, Glasgow Coma Scale. The maximum score is 6. As the score increases, the prognosis for the patient is poor. Diagnosis: CT is the only modality. It is highly sensitive and specific as well as cost effective. You can see intracerebral hemorrhages which will look white in plain non-contrast CT. Management: since the patient may present to us with altered sensorium, the airway has to be secured because patient can develop aspiration pneumonitis, and most of the patients survive. Some 40 to 45% dies if there is extensive bleed. BP has to be reduced to below 140. This is unlike the thrombotic stroke where the BP can be maintained up to 180. If possible, if intracranial pressure can be measured, you have to maintain a cerebral perfusion pressure of 50 to 70 millimeter of mercury. The preferred agents for reducing the BP are labetalol and esmolol because these are very short acting. And always watch for signs of raised ICT like papilledema, anisocoria and Cushing's triad. Suppose if the patient is on some anticoagulants, that is like warfarin, you have to check the INR. If it is prolonged, then you have to give vitamin K and prothrombin complex concentrates. And FFP can be tried, but this has to be given in larger volumes, and so PCC is preferred if available. Suppose if the bleed is due to thrombocytopenia, platelets can be transfused. On surgical evacuation, it is not of much use if the patient has, say, supratentorial bleed. For intratentorial bleed like cerebral hemorrhages, if the size of hematoma is more than 3 cm, surgical evacuation is a must. For less than 1 cm, you can manage medically. For 1 to 3, you have to watch the patient periodically.